touting what his administration calls a historic economic achievement, a 79% increase in the rate of the U.S. GDP growth since the fourth quarter of 2024. We talked about this yesterday on the show as well, the final full quarter of the Biden administration, by the way. So to talk about this a little bit more, let's bring in our experts. Brandon Arnold is Executive Vice President of the National Taxpayers Union, and Dr. Peter Earle is an economist at the American Institute for Economic Research. Gentlemen, good morning to you both. Good to have you on. Peter, let's start with you. I want to show you this little snippet from Newsmax.com. The headline here, Trump's 79% increase in GDP growth rate, 5 ways he did it. And I want to go through these with both of you. Peter, though, I want to start with you, starting with the first two that he was talking about, enacting a sweeping tax and budget bill dubbed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which proponents say has boosted business investment and disposable income. And then the second point here, raising tariffs on imported goods. An effort, a controversial effort, but an effort nonetheless, the administration says, has helped narrow the trade deficit and stimulate domestic manufacturing, the OBB and the accompanying tariffs as well. Now, so I guess the question, have these year one measures from President Trump accomplished, Peter, what they set out to do? And can we expect tariffs to continue to increase going into the new year as well?
So certainly the tax bill and the deregulation have done a lot to increase growth, as has general confidence. Tariffs have nothing to do with growth. If anything, they've held growth back. They're a tax. And I mean, the idea that we're trying to market these things as cutting a trade deficit, even if they do cut the trade deficit has nothing to do with overall growth. We've had positive growth when we've had trade deficits and trade surpluses. So this is just marketing for the tariffs. I mean, I think we would have had a higher GDP without the tariffs, but certainly the One Big Beautiful Bill, deregulation, more supply side than demand side measures, all of those are positive and they do account for this, higher growth that we've seen over the last year or so.
Brandon, let's move on through some of these points. Some of the other ones include rolling back regulations across energy, banking, and environmental sectors, as we're looking at Wall Street and the opening bell. But, again, rolling back the regulations across energy, banking, environmental sectors to reduce compliance burdens and spur corporate activity. And then the fourth point, lowering energy prices, particularly oil and gas, as part of a broader energy independence push, which the administration says has lowered business costs and spurred consumption, deregulation, and beautiful clean coal, as the president talked about in a call with one of the children he talked to yesterday on Christmas. So as President Trump puts it, Brandon, this has been really on the minds of Republicans as long as I can remember anyway, for quite some time. Do you see this administration's deregulation efforts as going far enough as we're listening to the opening bell here?
I think the administration's done quite well on the deregulatory front, but I think what they need to do and what we've started to see some success at is working with Congress to make these deregulatory efforts permanent. Because the unfortunate thing is that if Trump deregulates merely as an executive, that they can be undone by future administrations. But when he works in concert with the Republican Congress to deregulate, then businesses have the confidence that these laws are here to stay. They can make investments in energy infrastructure, in growing more housing, things like that are going to drive down prices, create jobs, all of that stuff that we want to see coming out of our economy. So I think the administration's done great. There's still more work to be done on the deregulatory front, and that could really spur more economic growth.
Peter, in the time we have left, I want to go through some of the final points here, and they include reducing interest rates, a goal that the administration has publicly advocated for some time, arguing that lower borrowing costs will further stimulate investment and consumer spending. Take us through your thoughts on that one. Do you think that's true? Will that happen going into the new year?
Yes. I mean, the Fed is poised to continue to cut rates. We've seen some loosening of financial conditions already. The one thing we have to be careful of, though, is that at a point when you begin to lower rates, if rates are lowered too quickly, what you start getting is more inflation. You start getting higher prices. And that could dent consumer activity. So as long as there's a balance between that lowering of rates and it doesn't happen so quickly that it increases the general price level, it should be basically it should be conducive to more growth. So I think that's a good expectation for the coming year.
Hey, Brandon, just real quick, I just want to ask you one last question. The administration says that people can expect a refund, tax refunds, this coming tax season. Who should be expecting that, and about how much? Do you have any idea? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think working class families are going to get a big tax boost come this filing season, which should start at the end of January. This is due to the fact that the One Big Beautiful Bill, many of the tax provisions were made retroactive to the beginning of this year. And withholding was not adjusted in people's paychecks, which means those tax refunds for the child tax credit, which is larger, for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, all of those things are retroactive to the beginning of this year. So hopefully people are going to get bigger than expected checks, pay down those credit card bills, and tackle those expenses that unfortunately have gone up for many Americans.
Amen. Brandon Arnold, Dr. Peter Earle, gentlemen, thank you very much. Happy New Year if I don't talk to you before then. So a group of Democratic